Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I remove and replace the heater core in my 2006 or 8th gen Honda Civic. This will be one of my first kind of detailed DIY videos. I haven't really found any online, so I'm going to try to make one and make it as detailed as possible. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy. This is Regen Automotive, and let's get to work. One last thing before we get started. I kindly ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. It simply takes 10 seconds for the viewer, and it really does keep me motivated to continue making videos and get this information out there to you guys. I really do appreciate it, and as a bonus, it makes me as happy when Borat is finally ready to take his lovely sister's hand in marriage. High five! Now I'm under the hood of the car. I have it jacked up and secure on jack stands. I'm gonna wait for it to cool down a little bit, and then I'll drain the coolant. In the meantime, I'm going to remove the battery and then the stock air box, and then that will reveal the heater core hoses that go through the firewall. Good thing I bought a replacement air filter for my maintenance list. So once you get the top cover off the air filter, one 10mm bolt here, this hose just pops off. Looks like there's a couple breather hoses here, so I'm going to get a channel lock to take that clamp off, and then I have again, like a little bolt there holding the intake boot into the manifold there. So as you can hear, I have the radiator draining there. I really like these styles when it just has a little wing nut or petcock or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just turn that back and there's a little relief hole. So you just turn it back until it starts coming out of the relief hole. And then with the air box removed, let's see if you, yeah, there it is. So there's the two heater core hoses there. Obviously, I'm not going to show on camera me taking these hoses off because there's no angle. But yeah, so that's pretty much the last I'm doing in the engine bay here for now, is taking those two clamps off with channel locks, pulling those hoses back. I'll have a bucket under there because I'll probably get some drainage. And then I'll meet you in the car where we start pulling the dash out. Don't forget about the secret 12mm nut that's just beside the heater core opening there, just behind those brake lines. That was the last thing that was holding me up to get the heater box out. So now that we're inside the car, to start, I'm going to remove any plastic panels on the driver's side. This guy just conveniently came off with this little twist tab here. I'm going to remove the center console. To start, I'm going to remove the shift lever. As you saw, the surround just clipped up, and then I was able to thread the lever off. One clip on this side. Pull this thing off. There's a center mat inside your console lid here, and there's two 8mm bolts. There's two more 8 mils under that cover we just took off. So once you have everything disconnected, the center console should just slide right out. There's actually one wiring harness connected under here. Okay, so next I'm going to remove the glove box. To do so, there's two 8mm bolts at the hinge, and then there's, you just pull these tabs in to lower the glove box. Next, I'm going to take the steering wheel and the column out. To do so, first I'm going to remove the airbag. There's two T30 screws on each side of the airbag. So there's our airbag. Just as a caution as well, always make sure your battery's disconnected when you're messing around with your airbag stuff. So I disconnected my steering wheel harness here, and then I'm going to take the 14mm bolt off. I'm going to work the wheel back and forth so it comes off. So I'm just taking, there's I believe 3 Phillips head screws just to get these column covers off so I can see what's going on more here. Next, we want to get the steering column out. So I'm going to disconnect, there's a handful of wiring harnesses here. For the clock spring, ignition, airbag, all that stuff. And then there's a couple 14mm bolts, so I'll show you a little bit more once I get there. But for now, I'm just going to disconnect all the plugs at the column here. Okay, now that we have all the wiring out of the way, we're going to have 4 12mm bolts, and I'm hoping this steering column just comes right out. And just like that, there's our steering column. Yeah, so it ended up being 2 12mm nuts there, 2 12mm bolts, and the shaft just slid right off the spline part at the steering rack, I guess that would be, connecting linkage. I also marked the location of the steering column shaft to the mating piece underneath there, so everything's aligned when I put it back together. So next, I'm going to disconnect, there's some wiring harnesses that's plugged into the fuse box just in the corner there. So I'm going to disconnect all the clips that go up into the dash that connect the fuse box to the dash wiring harness. Okay, so now I'm working in the center of the console here. I'm disconnecting, I believe that's an airbag module of some sort. So there's a couple plugs here. I see the yellow airbag plugs, and then there's a couple 10mm bolts just to disconnect this wiring harness essentially from the dash. So with all the wiring harnesses disconnected, there's just one T30 that is the ground screw for the airbag connector. So now I'm going to disconnect, there's 1, 2, 3 bolts, 12mm bolts on each side that hold the main dash in, and then once I pull the dash out, there's going to be the door harness. It's kind of hard to access as is, so I'm going to pull it out and see if it's easier to get the harness once I start moving the dash. Don't forget to bag and label your bolts. One thing I forgot to do earlier was take off the pillar, A-pillar trim. And apparently these have like these one-time use clips, which is really weird. Maybe it's actually to show if someone's been tampering with the airbag. But anyway, to do it, I just gave it a gentle tap with the hammer at the side curtain airbag logo, and then it just extends and breaks this clip. So you have to get a new clip. Debatable if I'm going to replace that when I put it back together. We'll see. Before you take the dash out, make sure these jam nuts are threaded inwards on the passenger side. These are just little spacers in between the dash and the two mounting points by the door. Alright, welcome to the inside of my dash. Holy smokes, this looks intimidating. I'm not too worried, I'll get it back together, but you know, I could see why people don't want to do this job. One thing that I will mention that I forgot to mention earlier and created a bunch of extra work for myself is there's one 14mm bolt there that has to be removed, and there's two 10mm that have to be removed. So I didn't remove those. The dash wasn't coming out for some reason, so I tried taking all the plastic trim off on the front side, still wasn't moving, and then finally I took a look around and realized I had these two bolts. And how they would look here is you have the 14 mil that goes on the bottom there, and then the 2 mils, 10 mils, 2 mils, two 10 mils thread into the firewall there. So once you have those two and that 14, make sure everything's disconnected. It actually slid right off. Not too bad. So yeah, I'll probably just leave that on the seat there while I work on my heater core box. So I just had the AC discharged, removed from the system. So the system is empty. The write-up I was following said to like discharge the AC right away. I thought that I could take a shortcut and not do it, but turns out that you have to do it. So take my word for it, get your AC discharged if you plan on doing this job. Where the two AC lines go there's a 10mm bolt that you have to take off, and that holds the lines to your evaporator inside the dash. So I'm going to take that off. And then yeah, I have the heater box ready to go out. It's fine. It's totally fine. So I'll go back together. Right? That's a big old mess because I tried to take off that line, the AC line, without I didn't realize it's connected right there at the heater core. So yeah, that's a big old mess. So like I said, make sure you get your AC discharged properly. Yeah, so there's the mess. There's that 12mm, that last bolt that's hanging me up. So yeah, hopefully you're able to follow my steps and get it out yourself. I'm going to start putting everything back together here. And if I have any hang-up points or anything worth mentioning, I'll get it on camera. One thing I forgot to mention, the heater hose was like seized on the heater core, so I ended up cutting it and slicing it down the middle to get it off. So if you need to get replacement, I just use generic 5/8 heater hose, and that seemed to do the trick. I have the dash back in, heater core is all hooked up, evaporator, AC lines are all hooked up. All that wiring's just a stereo stuff. I got the steering wheel on, airbag, ECU plugged in. There wasn't any issues to report, so I would say, yeah, it just goes back together opposite of in reverse of how we removed it. I'll show you under the engine bay here. Got my air box, battery, just did a bleed of the radiator. Yeah, so I'm gonna set you guys up on the tripod, and this is a honest first start after putting everything together. So let's see if it, 1, starts, and 2, hopefully we don't have any leaks. I just ran the car for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and the heat was coming on pretty good. Doesn't look like I have any leaks. Still bubbling up a little bit there, so I'll leave that. Yeah, again, doesn't look like I have any leaks. Heat was working. I couldn't smell anything, so I'm calling that fixed. So yeah, and then yeah, I'll put all that stuff together later. But again, it's just reverse of disassembly, just snapping or clicking all the dash and all that stuff back together. So yeah, there you guys go. There's a DIY of a heater core from start to finish on an 8th gen Civic. Comment below if you have any questions. Otherwise, don't forget to like, comment. I mean, I just said that. Subscribe, and have a good day.